Sanjay Uvacha iti ityaham vasudevasya parthasya cha mahatmanah samvadam imam ashrausham adbhutam romaharshanam. Sanjay said, "Thus have I heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end." Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Dhritarashtra inquired from his secretary Sanjaya what happened on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The entire story was related to the heart of Sanjay by the grace of his spiritual master Vyasa. The entire study was related to the heart of Sanjay by the grace of his spiritual master Vyasa. He thus explained the theme of the battlefield. The conversation was wonderful because such an important conversation between two great souls had never taken place before and would not take place again. It was wonderful because the Supreme Personality of Godhead was speaking about himself and his energies to the living entity, Arjuna, a great devotee of the Lord. If we follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna, then our life will be happy and successful. Sanjay realized this, and as he began to understand it, he related the conversation to Dhritarashtra. Now it is concluded that wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna, there is victory. 75. Vyasaprasada Trutavan Etad Guhyam Aham Param Yogam Yogeshwarat Krishnat Sakshat Kathayatah Swayam. By the mercy of Vyasa, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjuna. Vyasa was a spiritual master of Sanjaya, and Sanjaya admits that it was by Vyasa's mercy that he could understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This means that one has to understand Krishna not directly, but through the medium of the spiritual master. The spiritual master is a transparent medium. Although it is true that the experience is still direct. This is the mystery of the disciplic succession. When the spiritual master is bona fide, then one can hear Bhagavad Gita directly as Arjuna heard it. There are many mystics and yogis all over the world, but Krishna is the master of all yoga systems. Krishna's instruction is explicitly stated in Bhagavad Gita, surrender unto Krishna. One who does so is the topmost yogi. This is confirmed in the last verse of the 6th chapter, Yoginam api sarvesham. Narada is the direct disciple of Krishna and the spiritual master of Vyasa. Therefore, Vyasa is as bona fide as Arjuna because he comes in the disciplic succession, and Sanjaya is the direct disciple of Vyasa. Therefore, by the grace of Vyasa, Sanjaya's senses were purified and he could not see and hear Krishna directly. He could see. Therefore, by the grace of Vyasa, Sanjaya's senses were purified and he could see and hear Krishna directly. One who directly hears Krishna can understand this confidential knowledge. If one does not come to the disciplic succession, he cannot hear Krishna. Therefore, his knowledge is always imperfect, at least as far as understanding Bhagavad Gita is concerned. In Bhagavad Gita, all the yoga systems, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga are explained. Krishna is the master of all such mysticism. It is to be understood, however, that as Arjuna was fortunate enough to understand Krishna directly, so by the grace of Vyasa, Sanjay was also able to hear Krishna directly. Actually, there is no difference between hearing directly from Krishna and hearing directly from Krishna via a bona fide spiritual master like Vyasa. The spiritual master is the representative of the Vyasadeva. Also, therefore, according to the Vedic system, on the birthday of the spiritual master, the disciples conduct the ceremony called Vyasa Puja. Mataji, one more verse.
Yes, Mataji, go ahead. One more verse.
Rajan samsmritya samvadam imam adbhutam kesavarjunayo punyam rishayami cha muhu. O king, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure being thrilled at every moment. The understanding of Bhagavad Gita is so transcendental that anyone who becomes conversant with the topics of Arjuna and Krishna becomes righteous. And he cannot forget such talks. This is the transcendental position of spiritual life. In other words, one who hears the Gita from the right source directly from Krishna attains full Krishna consciousness. The result of Krishna consciousness is that one becomes increasingly enlightened and he enjoys life with a thrill, not only for some time but every moment. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Would someone else like to read 77 and 78?
I can read, Mataji.
Sure, Mataji, please go ahead.
Text 77. Tacha samsmritya rupam ati adbhutam hare vismayo me maham rajan yashyami cha puna puna. O King, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again. Purport. It appears that Sanjaya also, by the grace of Vyasa, could see the universal form Krishna exhibited to Arjuna. It is, of course, said that Lord Krishna had never exhibited such a form before. It was exhibited to Arjuna only, yet some great devotees could also see the universal form of Krishna when it was shown to Arjuna, and Vyasa was one of them. He is one of the great devotees of the Lord, and he is considered to be a powerful incarnation of Krishna. Vyasa disclosed to his disciple Sanjaya, who remembered that wonderful form of Krishna exhibited to Arjuna and enjoyed it repeatedly. Text 78. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. Purport. The Bhagavad Gita began with an inquiry of Dhritarashtra's. He was hopeful of the victory of his sons, assisted by great warriors like Bhishma, Drona, and Karna. He was hopeful that the victory would be on his side, but after describing the scene on the battlefield, Sanjaya told the king, "You are thinking of victory, but my opinion is that where Krishna and Arjuna are present, there will be all good fortune." He directly confirmed that Dhritarashtra could not expect victory for his side. Victory was certain for the side of Arjuna because Krishna was there. Krishna's acceptance of the post of charioteer for Arjuna was an exhibition of another opulence. Krishna is full of all opulences, and renunciation is one of them. There are many instances of such renunciation, for Krishna is also the master of renunciation. The fight was actually between Duryodhan and Yudhishthira. Arjuna was fighting on behalf of his elder brother Yudhishthira because Krishna and Arjuna were on the side of Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira's victory was certain. The battle was to decide who would rule the world, and Sanjaya predicted that the power would be transferred to Yudhishthira. It is also predicted here that Yudhishthira, after gaining victory in this battle, would flourish more and more because not only was he righteous and pious, but he was also a strict moralist. He never spoke a lie during his life. There are many less intelligent persons who take Bhagavad Gita to be a discussion of topics between two friends on a battlefield, but such a book cannot be scripture. Some may protest that Krishna incited Arjuna to fight, which is immoral, but the reality of the situation is clearly stated. Bhagavad Gita is the supreme instruction in morality. The supreme instruction of morality is stated in the 9th chapter in the 34th verse, Manamana Bhava Mad Bhakta. One must become a devotee of Krishna, and the essence of all religion is to surrender unto Krishna. Sarva dharman parityagya mama ekam sharanam raja. The instructions of Bhagavad Gita constitute the supreme process of religion and of morality. All other processes may be purifying and may lead to this process, but the last instruction of the Gita is the last word in all morality and religion: surrender unto Krishna. This is the verdict of the 18th chapter. From Bhagavad Gita, we can understand that to realize oneself by philosophical speculation and by meditation is one process, but to fully surrender unto Krishna is the highest perfection. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. The path of regulative principles according to the orders of social life and according to the different courses of religion may be a confidential path of knowledge. But although the rituals of religion are confidential, meditation and cultivation of knowledge are still more confidential. And surrender unto Krishna in devotional service is full Krishna consciousness is the most confidential instruction. That is the essence of the 18th chapter. Another feature of Bhagavad Gita is that the actual truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. The absolute truth is realized in three features: impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Perfect knowledge of the absolute truth means perfect knowledge of Krishna. If one understands Krishna, then all the departments of knowledge are part and parcel of that understanding. Krishna is transcendental, for he is always situated in his eternal internal potency. The living entities are manifested of his energy and are divided into two classes: eternally conditioned and eternally liberated. Such living entities are innumerable, and they are considered fundamental parts of Krishna. Material energy is manifested into 24 divisions. The creation is effected by eternal time, and that is created and dissolved by external energy. This manifestation of the cosmic world repeatedly becomes visible and invisible. In Bhagavad Gita, five principal subject matters have been discussed: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the material nature, the living entities, eternal time, and all kinds of activities. All is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. All conceptions of the Absolute Truth, impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and any other transcendental conception exist within the category of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although superficially the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity, material nature, and time appear to be different, nothing is different from the Supreme. But the Supreme is always different from everything. Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is that of inconceivable oneness and difference. This system of philosophy constitutes perfect knowledge of the Absolute Truth. The living entity in his original position is pure spirit. He is just like an atomic particle of the Supreme Spirit. Thus, Lord Krishna may be compared to the sun and the living entities to sunshine. Because the living entities are the marginal energy of Krishna, they have a tendency to be in contact either with the material energy or with the spiritual energy. In other words, the living entity is situated between the two energies of the Lord, and because he belongs to the superior energy of the Lord, he has a particle of independence. By proper use of that independence, he comes under the direct order of Krishna. Thus, he attains his normal condition in the pleasure giving potency. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 18th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of its conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. Haribol.
Haribol, thank you so much for the reading.
Thank you, Mataji.
So we have sufficient time today for discussion. So would anybody like to share like the important points? Because Prabhupada has done a very given a very detailed description of many important points in the last purport and also through the other verses.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
When we were hearing 1876, this is the transcendental position of spiritual life. In other words, one who hears the Gita from the right source directly from Krishna attains full Krishna consciousness. And the result of Krishna consciousness is that one becomes increasingly enlightened and he enjoys life with a thrill, not only for some time, but at every moment. So I was liking this point very much. Why particularly this point is that for me personally, right from the beginning, when I came to Krishna consciousness, somehow for me, philosophical points are like, so I feel it's too much for me. So I always had the aversion of reading Bhagavad Gita. I feel like, this is not for me. Rather, Srimad Bhagavatam is full of stories. Somehow I like that very much. But I know for sure it's connected with Bhagavad Gita. Somehow or the other, I don't show much interest for Bhagavad Gita, but like how we have heard so many times, like by hearing how to be perfect, like is being by being perfect. So how to become regularized is being regularized, like, reading constantly. Now I feel like, I'm liking Bhagavad Gita so much. And whenever I read, even though I don't like initially, I was not liking initially, I started reading again and again daily as a practice. I tried, my best, at least for half an hour or how much ever it's possible for me. I tried my best. My realization is like, this has so much it's brought so much in my life for me, I would say. It's really, I feel so happy, particularly, reading from the right source. So like, reading with devotees, hearing from the right source, reading Srila Prabhupada books, I feel so happy, and thank you so much for everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. You're very, very fortunate. Krishna is reciprocating with your efforts. Thank you for sharing.
Hare Krishna.
Would anybody else like to share? There are many, many important themes through this these purports.
Mataji, can I share?
Of course, Mataji. Go ahead, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. So the point in verse number 74, that if we follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna, then our life will be happy and successful. Wherever Krishna and Arjuna are there, there is victory. In verse number 75, one has to understand Krishna not directly but through the medium of spiritual master. And the experience is still direct because spiritual master is a transparent medium. There is no difference between hearing directly from Krishna and hearing directly from Krishna via a bona fide spiritual master like Vyasadeva. The spiritual master is a representative of the Vyasa.
So please go ahead and speak more, Mataji.
Yeah, and
What?
78 words, purport.
Mataji, before you go ahead, would you like to say something more? Because this point is very important. So would you like to say something more about what you just said?
Yes, Mataji. So here the importance of hearing from the right source is emphasized. As Jyotsna Mataji, right? Yeah, she mentioned
Jyotirmay
just
Mataji. Yeah.
yeah, she just mentioned that when you hear Gita from the right source, then you can become fully Krishna conscious, and the result is you have increasingly enlightened, and he enjoys life with a thrill, not for some time, but at every moment. So, so it is very important that we hear from the right source. And Arjuna heard it directly from Krishna, but we are all not fortunate to be in the time when Krishna descended. So the only way is to approach this Bhagavad Gita through a bona fide spiritual master or a sadhu who has heard it in this disciplic succession. Because the spiritual master is a transparent medium, he doesn't alter anything. Whatever he heard from his spiritual master, he passed down the same message down to his disciple. And the message delivers to the disciple. He is just like, we can say that, I don't remember the example, but yeah, anyways.
Thank you, Mataji. Would anybody else like to share about the topic of disciplic succession and how they understand it, their practical experiences in life, or any realizations connected to the disciplic succession and the role of disciplic succession in acquiring transcendental knowledge?
Hare Krishna Mataji, not specifically disciplic succession, but I just want to share my personal realization from this verse 78 regarding wherever there is Krishna and wherever there is Arjuna. So, just analysis that, like in the battlefield also, mm, Arjuna and the Pandavas, only 5 of them, and on the other side there are Kauravas and thousands of people. And but Pandavas, when they took shelter of the Lord, so they are victorious in that sense, whereas the other party, who were larger in numbers, they failed. So here in our lives also, there is always Kauravas and Pandavas, just like our life, like Maya. A lot of people are attracted towards Maya, but if we take shelter of Krishna, ultimately we will be victorious. So it is just like in the earlier verses what we read is poison in the beginning and nectar at the end. So we if we consistently practice Krishna consciousness under the instructions of the spiritual master, then ultimately the success is there. That is my realization. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Uh, um, Anybody else would like to speak something about the point of disciplic succession? Their understanding and application of this.
Mataji, there will be no speculation, because the knowledge what they have heard is the same thing they pass on. There could be some examples or something which is given, which would suit the current context and the scenario. So based on time, place, circumstances, they can present the examples, but otherwise the essence remains the same. They keep the essence intact and try to pass on the same knowledge which Krishna wanted to convey to all the jivas.
Thank you, Mataji. Would anybody else like to speak?
Mataji, I just feel that we are so fortunate to have, as part of the disciplic succession, like if we see how Prabhupada has helped us with his detailed purports and his realizations, his examples throughout the whole Bhagavad Gita. I mean, if I have personally not read any other Bhagavad Gita, so I won't compare, but just by, I just feel that this is Krishna's mercy. I mean, we are really, really fortunate to have such a clear understanding that Prabhupada has tried to give us through his purports in this. Over and over, he mentions about the surrendering to Krishna and how we can do it and what we need to do. And very beautifully, it's summarized in the last few verses. Um, I think, I mean, I personally, I can only say that I feel myself as really fortunate to learn it through Prabhupada's way of, getting us to know Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah, we are indeed very fortunate. Thank you so much for sharing your realizations.
Mataji, one more point in the disciplic succession which I would like to add is the line here is, therefore, by the grace of Vyasa, Sanjay's senses were purified and he could see and hear Krishna directly. So, when we hear from our spiritual master, our senses also get purified. And then the message is very, very crystal clear. And we can act as if it is directly received from Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Hmm. Anybody else would like to add? Achita or Rukmavati Mataji, is your husband on the call?
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, so my like some time ago I was contemplating the mood of the Sanjay, who is so fortunate that he got that opportunity to witness the conversation between the Krishna and Arjuna live telecast. And he was mentioning also that his he was struck with wonder, and then he was enjoying again and again his goosebumps, right? Yeah. His hair was standing at the end, so that I can imagine how the mood of this thing. And then the other Machadish was nicely summarized. We are so fortunate. Srila Prabhupada gives such a transcendental knowledge in a simple way, so all we can understand. And it's changed the millions of people in the past, and it is changing, still changing, and it is going to change the generations yet to come. As other the Jyoti Mataji, I think, telling it is every time it is like a fresh, can keep unfolding. And thank you very much, Mataji, for engaging all of us. Engaging us in getting realizations and making the presentation, the whole teachings so interactive. And it's thank you very much, Mataji.
You're welcome, Prabhu. You're very kind.
May I add one more point?
Sure, Mataji. Yeah.
So regarding the disciplic succession, I was also thinking the same point what Sudevi Mataji was sharing. So it's why it's very important to hear only through, hear or read through disciplic succession is like the non-devotees, they don't accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So definitely their commentary will not be putting Krishna as the Supreme Lord. So in that way, it's very important to follow the disciplic succession. So they are demonic people, so they definitely will not follow Krishna's instruction. So that will definitely mislead the path of a person who is like reading Bhagavad Gita for the very first time. As Mataji said, I'm also so fortunate, like, I have never read any other Bhagavad Gita other than Srila Prabhupada's purports. So for a new person, for a neophyte, like, who just wanted to, in that way, I was thinking this book distribution, how important is it? Like how Srila Prabhupada emphasized everyone regarding the book distribution.
Yes, Mataji. Yes. Actually, this, like there are few themes within Bhagavad Gita, which are very, very important. And Prabhupada also summarizes again, like there are 5 themes, actually, big themes. Ishvara, Jiva, Kala, Prakriti, and what is the last thing? Karma. Yeah, karma. So like these are the 5 important topics. But behind all of this actually is that we want to establish our connection with Krishna. And that is the most important theme in Bhagavad Gita. And that cannot be achieved without the help of disciplic succession. So as all of you have pointed out, like, all of the points that you have made are very valid. That, that through the disciplic succession, the message is unchanged. So as Krishna had given it originally to Lord Brahma, and Brahma had given it to Narada, Narada gave it to Vyas. So the same message is being passed down through the teachers, and it is being preserved very carefully, as Sudevi Mataji was saying, that it is being preserved very carefully and passed down to us. So this is such an important topic and such an important understanding, because this actually gives us our connection to Krishna. So this is the most important thing. If we can, like at our stage, or maybe I should say, like, at my stage, I may have accepted initiation, but I may not understand the real depth or the meaning of surrendering to a spiritual master. But this is so important in the life of a disciple to take the instructions of the spiritual master very seriously and mold his life according to the desires of the spiritual master. So this is the most practical theme that somebody can take away from reading of Bhagavad Gita. And we have to remember that not just ISKCON, which is Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya, but there are other lines of disciplic succession. Like we have 4 major sampradayas: Sri Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, Kumara Sampradaya, and Brahma Sampradaya. So all of them are equally valid. But the beauty of our disciplic succession is that it is coming through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is Brahma, Madhva. So we came through Madhvacharya. Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya. Gaudiya is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaudiya Sampradaya. So the importance of coming in disciplic succession of Mahaprabhu is that our destination is not just Vaikuntha planets. Our destination is beyond the Vaikuntha planets in Golaka Vrindavan. So that is the gift of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And higher than that gift is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distributed it, this knowledge only in India. But Srila Prabhupada took it from India he translated all of these purports from Sanskrit to English. Not only that, he actually referred to all the commentaries of all the major acharyas, and he condensed them in such a way that any person who has the slightest inclination of knowing Krishna can easily understand what the greatest truth of the Vedas in a very simple language. So we are very, very fortunate in that sense. And then another important theme is that our own connection with our own spiritual master. So after Srila Prabhupada departed, the disciples of Srila Prabhupada are carrying forward this movement. And it becomes very necessary for each one of us to understand the instructions and the mode of Srila Prabhupada as well as our own spiritual master. And it is so important for us because if the disciplic succession has to move on, someone has to carry the pure teachings. So it becomes the responsibility of the next generation to become completely pure. And the extent to which we are pure, to that extent we can carry forward this Krishna consciousness movement. So if we can actually, among the many themes that are there within Bhagavad Gita, if we can actually understand the importance of disciplic succession, then one of the major, it is one of the major achievements for us. We have to apply it practically in our life, but at least theoretically, if we accept the importance of disciplic succession, it is really a great achievement. Actually, in one sense, some people are very, very eager to accept initiation. But that eagerness is not coming because of a proper understanding of the disciplic succession. It is because they just want to get a name so that they feel included in the society. Whether we get a name or we do not get a name, actually, the mature understanding that it is secondary. The major thing is that we have to understand and imbibe the mood and teachings of Srila Prabhupada very carefully. And we have to imbibe and apply the instructions that are given by our spiritual master. So if that is actually the mode of a disciple, then whether they are initiated or not initiated, is actually secondary. Srila Prabhupada is very willing to give us his mercy. And we just have to be patient. We just have to try to understand what his mode is. And the material tendencies are so tenacious. Tenacious means actually that they hold on to something without leaving their grip, like an octopus. So they actually, in the heart of a conditioned soul, they're very, very addicted to sense gratification and everything that comes with sense gratification. A desire to control, a desire to lord it over material nature. And it happens in many subtle ways and gross ways, even within the society of devotees. And if we want to overcome these tendencies, and if we actually want to become surrendered to Krishna, then the path is through the disciplic succession. We have to understand that mercy is coming through the disciplic succession. And it is only by begging the disciplic succession again and again for mercy that we can overcome these strong anarthas that are gripping our heart. There is no other way. People may have many big positions, but they can be anything. They can be the temple presidents, they can be the zonal secretary, they can be whatever they want to become. But the title or the external manifestation of a person's position is not always indicative of their surrender to Krishna. So we have to imbibe these teachings at a very deep level, and the depth will only come when we follow the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada himself was a great example of a person like whom we can look up to. And before coming to United States, it is said that Srila Prabhupada went to all the samadhis of the acharyas, and he actually went to some place where the temple of Samadhi, I forget, of Advaita Acharya, and he was weeping and crying. And he used to weep and cry because he was unable to execute the instruction of his spiritual master. So he was that serious in executing the instruction of his spiritual master. And that is what led to all the spiritual success he had in his life. So if we can just imbibe that one thing, or pray that we can imbibe that one quality within our life, to become instruments of our spiritual masters and instruments of Srila Prabhupada in this world. In fact, like we have done ourselves, we have made enough spiritual advancement, like, so as devotees, like, we have to try our best not to get caught up in the external fanfare, and but to go into our hearts to examine if we have actually surrendered to Krishna through the disciplic succession. And any other thoughts or comments from based on what we have read?
I think you put it very well, Mataji. That was very well said. I was also thinking, like you said, it's not just us, but it is so important that we even give it to the next generation, so unless we realize it, unless we feel, it's not going to be easy to pass it on. So yeah, that's very well said.
Yes, Mataji, I have to keep reminding myself again and again.
Me too, Mataji. All of us.
Would anybody else like to share something based on what we have read?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Yeah, we were discussing actually, these instructions are so divine and so important for us to cultivate, to at least sustain in Krishna consciousness. Uh, so any uh, any more depth insight how we can take these instructions close to our heart and soul?
Anybody would like to respond to Prabhu's question? Thank you for the nice question, Prabhu.
By always remaining in association of devotees, we get more encouragement to practice Krishna consciousness, and maintain that lifelong, because if we are practicing alone, it becomes, after a certain time we lose taste. Srila Prabhupada gives example that I don't really remember, but I remember that he says that a person is there in a room, and what is that example? He can keep himself happy himself, but so long as but he craves for association. Mataji, can you help me with that example, Mataji? Because I forgot now, but I know there is some example which Srila Prabhupada gave about that.
I'm sorry, Mataji. I never heard this example before. Anybody else who knows this example which Mataji is sharing?
One second, Mataji. No problem, Mataji. If anybody has to share, they can share.
I just wanted to share that I think, like Prabhupada explains, is keeping Krishna in the center. So anything that we are doing from the time we wake up to the time we sleep, any activity that we are doing, it's like, okay, I think to keep in mind that the goal is it's for the pleasure of Krishna. So if I do this, will Krishna be happy? Like asking ourselves. And I think that makes us that keeps us away from a lot of activities when the answer is no. Even though you had the slightest doubt, I think if you ask yourself that question, would Krishna like me doing this, or would Krishna be happy with this? And I think if we simple things, whatever we are doing, whether I'm cooking, whether I'm cleaning, whether I'm shopping, whether I'm disciplining the kids, whatever, I think if we just make it a practice of keeping Krishna in the center, I think that goes a long way. It makes us not do things that we otherwise would have done it, and kind of taken the karma over the things that we shouldn't have done it. I think as we practice that, it to me that's a very practical way of because anything that we are doing in our daily life is basically how we can practice Krishna consciousness. So that's what I thought I would share.
Thank you, Kiran. Mataji. Actually, I'm very grateful you keep bringing up this point of doing everything for Krishna. Actually, that is the essence of bhakti. And, thank you for bringing up this point again and again, because I feel like the more we hear it, the better it is for it to sink in to consciousness. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Anybody else would like to try to share about
Mataji, one more thing which I wanted to add is, Mataji, like if we are alone, like just like a stick, if we take a stick, it is easy to break. But when a bundle of sticks is given, it is difficult to break. Similarly, it is difficult for Maya Devi to trick us when we are in association of devotees. Otherwise, alone we can easily fall trap to Maya Devi.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Jyotirmay Mataji, would you like to say something?
Thank you, Mataji. So thank you, Kiran Mataji, for reminding that point. Adding to her point, she almost said everything, but I was thinking to add something to that. Is practical example is that what I have heard from my seniors, just being physically present, like whatever activity we are doing, and taking 2 or 3 pause in a day, and ask yourself, even if it's not about like any spiritual activity, even our official work, or as she said, even disciplining our kids, anything, any activity, take a pause in a day, just being ourselves, and ask ourselves, okay, what am I doing? What is my goal? For whom I'm doing this activity? Am I doing as the service or in a doership mentality? Like, I have tried this, and to my surprise, there were so much of corrections to be done from my part, because sometimes I feel like, oh, my kid is doing like this, my husband is doing like this. But the thing is, if we take a pause at least 2-3 times a day, the same time every day, and remind us, for whom I'm doing this activity or service, or ask ourselves, then it really helps us. So I was thinking to share that.
Yes, Mataji, nice point.
Good, okay. Thank you very much, Mataji. It's so enlightening.
And
Very
in the last purport, 78th purport, and the last paragraph, may I share, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, please share.
So I was thinking, it's a very punch point. For me, I was thinking like that, because here it says the position of the living entity, and Lord Krishna is compared to the sun and the living entity to be the sunshine. So, and we have discussed before, like, we are part and particle of Krishna. So being living entity, we are in the marginal energy of Krishna. So we have the tendency whether to choose Maya or Krishna, like material energy or the spiritual energy. So Prabhupada has ended the whole Bhagavad Gita with a very nice point. Like, in other words, living entity is situated between the two energies of the Lord, and because he belongs to the superior energy of the Lord, so that is our true nature. And also we have the independence, so it is our choice. So he gives a choice. Since we have the choice, we should take the right choice through proper association. Then in that way we become so happy, and to come under, when we come under proper disciplic succession. So I was thinking that point.
Yes, Mataji, very nice point, very important point, that we are making that decision. It may seem as if we are just getting carried away, like, we cannot change anything, that's how we are. But there is always a decision that we can make, whether, we want to move towards Krishna or just remain in Maya.
The choice is always ours.
Yes, yes, very nice point, Mataji.
Mataji, and this about free will, the point which was new to me was this free will is because we belong to the superior energy. Otherwise, we wouldn't even have that free will. So the line, I actually underlined it. It is given here in the purport only. Yeah. In other words, the living entity is situated between the two energies of the Lord, and because he belongs to the superior energy of the Lord, he has a particle of independence. So yeah, because he belongs to the superior energy of the Lord, he has a particle of independence. Otherwise, we wouldn't have that too.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing. Yeah, actually, one other important thing that was coming to my mind, because now, since you have read these books, and there is some understanding of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, Krishna will present some opportunities where you will be speaking to others or giving Krishna consciousness to others. So we all naturally do it because actions speak louder than words. So what we do actually has a greater impact on the other person than what we speak. But at the same time, what we speak is also very important. And so when we speak, especially like when we are sharing Krishna consciousness, when we are faced with a situation where we do not know the answer for some question, it is better to say that I do not know the answer instead of coming up with an answer on our own, which we may not have heard from Srila Prabhupada's books. The reason is because in spiritual circles, it is it is considered proper that we speak only from scripture. That means either we should have heard it from our guru or someone who is very bona fide in disciplic succession, or we have read from Srila Prabhupada's books, or we have understood this thing properly from another bona fide Vaishnava who knows the scripture properly. So it may be a temptation, especially before we came to Krishna consciousness, even if we don't know the answer, sometimes many people speak, even Lord Ramachandra had to endure so much austerities. He went to the forest. So what to speak of me? I'm also enduring my karma. He also endured his karma. So these kind of statements are actually not authoritative, because that is not the understanding that Srila Prabhupada has given us. So instead of trying to say something in that moment, it is better to say, I do not know the answers. I can ask somebody who may know this answer and I'll get back to you. In fact, I have seen many times my spiritual master, he speaks like that. He says, I have not heard from Prabhupada, so I cannot comment. He doesn't even speak one line after that. So when we are presenting Krishna consciousness, it's always very important that we speak only what we have heard and what we have carefully heard and understood. And another effective way is like to speak about our own realizations. So because they are our own, whatever we have done and however Krishna has reciprocated with us actually has a very, it's more important for us. And because we are talking about something that is very important for us, the other person also can relate to it because it is on a human level. So that is one thing that I wanted to mention. Like any final thoughts or comments before we end?
Mataji,
Mataji,
that dates were given for presentation also, right? In that August 10 and 11 was mentioned. Actually, I think it is Tuesday, Wednesday, right? It would be 11 and 12.
Okay, Mataji. Yeah, looks like there is an error. So please, Matajis and Prabhus, take a note of it.
And Mataji, there will be no classes in between after the August 1 exam and the 10th?
No, Mataji. No classes. Just the presentations.
We have Janmashtami on August 11, Mataji.
Okay,
So
then we will postpone it one more week, because
Okay.
I don't think because of COVID any of the temples will be able to invite devotees.
Yes, Mataji,
Uh,
but there will be some lectures or temple programs live from.
Yeah, so let's make it the week after.
Okay, thank you, Mataji.
Mataji, and this presentations are in lieu of the essay questions, Mataji, or they will be separate?
Mataji, the presentations are what we have already spoken about. They're about the topics that all of you have individually chosen. So each presenter will be given 20 minutes and each of you can speak about a topic that you have chosen. I think many of you have already discussed the outline of your presentation. So based on Rukmavati Mataji's request, instead of having the presentations before the examination, we are having it after the examination.
Yes, Mataji. So I was asking, usually we also give essay questions. So is it in lieu of the essay questions, like instead of essay questions, this time
No,
we have
no, no, no,
presentation?
no. I'm sorry. I did not understand your question properly. You have to submit your essay questions also.
Okay, so this time's essay questions were not given, right?
Not yet, Mataji.
Okay.
Mataji,
Yes, Prabhu.
so for presentation, we can choose any topic, right? I mean, like I know the theme. It's a college preaching, but not like anything general which connects to the Bhagavad Gita teaching, Bhagavad Gita application,
Yes, yes,
preaching application, right?
yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Just to give an idea, like I sent an email with some important themes, but you can dovetail those themes. You know, make them bigger or smaller based on whatever you feel comfortable.
I was wondering,
Mataji, do we?
Mataji, after we finish all the presentation and exam, if
Mhm.
I don't know how others feel about this, but I feel like if we can still meet once a week and connect with like the practical application, our realizations, our doubts, our questions, can we do that?
We will still
Yes,
have sessions for the other books, right, Mataji?
But I
yeah.
am
So
done. This is
how many have you completed? Like all the books?
mine will be done, Mataji. I'll be done.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Congratulations, Mataji.
I don't know about that, Mataji, but thank you. But I think it's a very good way of connecting. I think we've been a good group together, and I was just, if you have other books that will go on, I mean, it makes sense for that. But I was just thinking if we could just do some practical applications and doubts and discussions or something.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, Mataji. Actually, one way of doing it easily is the next books. I'm not sure if who will be teaching, if it is Gajendra Moksha Prabhu or my husband. So,
Oh, okay.
so again, like he will be starting. Uh, I don't know whichever order: Nectar of Instruction, Sri Shopanishad, and the Nectar of Devotion. So, I mean, if you just want to audit it without having to give the exam, you are welcome to audit it. So, but he has his style.
Yeah, I've done with him, Mataji. Mm.
So,
Nectar of devotion is over, Mataji.
huh?
Nectar of devotion is completed.
For you?
Ishopanishad. Yeah,
Ishopanishad is
only
also
nectar of instruction.
Nectar of instruction is left actually.
Okay, okay, okay.
The next book.
For me, I have not done anything, Mataji. This is my first.
Yeah,
Mm.
for me also.
Mm. Okay, I think some of you have joined like midway, and you're continuing into the next sessions.
Yeah, that's
So,
what Rajendra Moksha Prabhu told me. Just continue, then you can do with your husband. That's what he told me.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, actually, yeah, Kiran Mataji, we will miss you, but that's one option. That's one way of keeping in touch.
Yeah, I'll try to still join. I hope I can. It's good to do that.
Mhm, mhm.
But
But
I was
you
also
have some
thinking,
very nice association in Naperville, right?
yes, that's going on by Krishna's mercy.
Mhm. Yes, Mataji.
But there is a whole Bhakti Sastri, thing going on here, which I am already in the middle, and this was my last book, so I'm not part of that Bhakti Shastri that's going on in Naperville.
Mm, mm,
Mm.
mm.
Plus the timing of it wouldn't match with mine, so this was good.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Mataji, since Rukmavati Mataji and her husband, they are done with a couple of books, so it's possible for us to finish the rest, right? Classes will be done, or?
Yes, Mataji, it will be in rotation. So
Oh,
yeah, so whoever has missed any exams or any books, they can continue with the, like, so the first 3 books were studied, and then Bhagavad Gita. Then after that again, like, they are going to read the first 3 books that they did before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Thank you, Mataji.
okay, so we'll end here for today, and tomorrow
Mataji,
we'll
I
be
have one more
meeting
thing to
again.
ask.
Yeah. So
Mataji, for the exam, do we get some question bank also to prepare?
oh yes, Mataji. Yeah. I'm sorry, I did not send it yet. Yeah. I'll send it, Mataji.
Yeah, because last time we discussed even the review sessions can be planned basis those questions also.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah. I'll send them to you tonight.
Yeah, Mataji, it would be helpful because I have tomorrow the review session.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah. So tomorrow we'll be meeting the same time, and Sudevi Mataji will be reviewing chapter 13, and Rukmavati Mataji, are you ready? um, so Mataji, like, just go through the overall understanding of the chapters. Like, we are all here to support you and help you, so you'll be fine.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you, Ma.
Okay, thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Jai. Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.